Hi folks, and welcome back to Meaningful Money. Okay, I'm still here at VIII. Beautiful little village up in north of Cornwall. It's either north or east depending on where you're looking. Certainly a long way, good hour and a quarter from where I live, out past Penzance towards Land's End. I'm seeing clients here today, hence the suit but no tie, far too warm for that. And these are long-standing clients, so they don't mind, they take me as I am. Continuing our series on equity release, nearly at the end now, just a couple more to do I think. And we need to look at the advice process, how you actually go about setting up an equity release product, mortgage or home reversion or whatever. The advice process, who you need to speak to and how that should go. As ever, before we get into the meat of that, my good friends down here in the bottom right, VIII Investment Management. They sponsor this show and help me to keep going. I'm very, very grateful to them for doing so. So, the advice process for equity release. You can, of course, do your own research, and you should. I mean, hopefully, if you're watching this, perhaps that's part of your own research process. I'm a big believer in people being informed about their own affairs. That's where a good advisor is worth their salt. But you will need some people to help you, and the advice process really takes two prongs. One is the legal process, and one is the financial side of things. So let's look at the legal first. Remember, of course, if you're talking about taking out a lifetime mortgage or indeed with a home reversion, selling your property, your house is your biggest asset, probably. Maybe not, but probably. Certainly if you're considering equity release, it almost certainly is your biggest single asset. Therefore, you don't need me to tell you that this is a big decision. It's also, either by arranging a mortgage or selling the property to a home reversion plan, it's a conveyance, it's a legal process, and I'm afraid right now you still need a solicitor to do that. In fact, if you remember from two videos ago, me talking about the SHIP scheme, it's having your own solicitor is actually an integral part of that. So you will need a solicitor. The solicitor's job is to take you through carefully the legal considerations of you taking out an equity release mortgage or doing a home reversion where you sell your house to the reversion company. That solicitor must be independent, and when we talk about independence as far as solicitor is concerned, it's independent of you, the client. They're acting for you, but primarily it means that they're independent of the provider you're taking out the equity release product with. So they are, you're instructing them, you're paying them to give you independent advice. So they will hopefully get to know enough about you to be able to do that. But by instructing them and paying them for the advice, you should get good advice. But as ever, get a specialist. Don't go to a generalist solicitor. Whenever you're approaching a solicitor about this, you need to find out whether they've done equity release before. If they haven't, then I strongly urge you to get them to recommend you to a solicitor who has dealt in this area. It's an area fraught with potential trip-ups, so it's important that you get a solicitor who knows what they're doing. So the process for getting legal advice is simple enough. You just need to find a good solicitor and instruct one, but make sure they're a specialist. Remember, it's a requirement. If you speak to a financial advisor, which I'll come to in a minute, that financial advisor must, under the set of regulatory rules that we operate under, they must recommend that you see an independent solicitor, your own solicitor. So that's the legal side, right? Remember, it's a massive decision, so you need an independent solicitor. That's actually a requirement under the SHIP scheme, and also for advisors to recommend that you get an independent solicitor. But make sure that solicitor is not only independent, i.e. yours, working for you. It means you need to make sure that you get one who knows what they are doing and has experience of equity release. That's the legal side. What about the financial side? Well, equity release is just one of a whole set of options available for financial planning for people in this life stage. But you'll find that many advisors are generalists, so they do all kinds of things. They'll do pensions, to life assurance, to savings plans for kids or school fees or whatever, all the way to long-term care planning, equity release planning. That's all fine. I don't have a problem with that. I would probably actually include myself in that sort of generalist financial planning area. But you need somebody with experience of equity release. Again, it's so important. It's such a big decision. Make sure that the advisor you're talking to has done one before, at the very least, and ideally has some years of experience working in the equity release field. Remember again that equity release is just one string to your bow and should be seen in the context of your wider financial planning. So if you have an advisor, well, let's say you go to an advisor and you say, look, I want to speak to you about equity release. That's fine, but a good advisor will immediately say, whoa, hold your horses. That's great. I understand why you've come to see me. Let's talk wider. Let's talk about your family and your plans and hopes for them. Let's talk about your plans for the sort of twilight years of your life. A good advisor should broaden the conversation, and equity release will be one of the things that he or she talks to you about. Maybe the equity release is exactly what they end up doing for you, but an advisor has to make recommendations and stick their neck on the line that whatever they recommend is, to the best of their knowledge, the best thing for you to do. So it's a big decision. It ought to be seen in the context of your wider financial planning. It's a dreadful word, but the word is holistic. Financial planning should always be done holistically, looking at your entire financial and personal circumstances. So be wary of an advisor that immediately tries to channel you down to a particular product. Holistic advice is the way to go. So get a specialist, make sure the advice is holistic. It's a pretty straightforward process getting financial advice. It's pretty much done the same every time. Your advisor will do some kind of a fact find. They will find out about you and write that stuff down to enable them to advise you. They will put advice hopefully in writing, certainly should be. They should give you as much time as you need to think and take advice and speak to your family about what they are proposing that you do. They should then, once you've decided, complete the forms with you, make sure everything is implemented properly, and complete the thing properly for you. That's the process. So just make sure you get somebody who knows what they're talking about. Now, specifically in the field of equity release, there is something called the PEER group. PEER is PEER and stands for Professional Excellence in Equity Release. This is something put in place by the Personal Finance Society, which is one of the sort of representative bodies for financial advisors in the UK. And it's basically a checklist of all the things you need to think about, or to put it more accurately, a checklist of everything your advisor should talk to you about in the process of giving you advice on equity release. And I'm going to cover those 19 things in the next video. 19 things in 7 or 8 minutes. It's going to be pretty rapid fire. So join me for that next time. Thanks for watching this time, and goodbye from Lost With You.